Whenever you do, you want to make sure you don't squander it. But first, before we get started, if you have not already, make sure you head over to pokercoaching.com/fundamentals, especially if you are relatively new to poker or if you are not up to speed on the fundamentals. There we have lots and lots and lots of educational content to help you get up to speed, and it's actually a really good course for people who do not know anything about poker. The first few parts of the course go through things that are very basic, like the rules of the game and what position is and whatnot. And I definitely think that is something you should check out if you want to get into poker. If you know someone who wants to get into poker, that will get them up to speed and help them play well. And interestingly enough, you may say, well, how hard could it be to learn the rules of poker? Turns out, it's actually not as easy as you would think. Also, it's important to learn it in a way that makes you excited about the game and hopeful for the game. So if you have a significant other out there who maybe you're sitting around quarantined and bored, maybe you teach your significant other to play poker. So check it out, pokercoaching.com/fundamentals. How do you think the online win rate will be affected when HUDs are eventually banned? How do I think heads-up display banning will affect win rates? It'll make win rates go down. That's well known. The sites without heads-up displays offer lower win rates than sites that have heads-up displays. Vito said he had a $21,000 score yesterday. Congrats. A shave and a haircut gets you to play better. Yeah, well, I haven't shaved or had a haircut in a few days. Am I letting my beard grow out? No, this is just me not shaving for about 3 days. Good to be here live. Hello, hello. All right, so today we're going to discuss a topic Louis Philippe asked me to discuss: how to play the final table when you have a lot of chips. And this is a big topic. We're obviously not going to be able to go in depth on this. We could talk hours and hours and hours and hours and hours about how to play the final table with a lot of chips. But there are a few main things you want to be very, very aware of. The main thing is, are we at any specific actual bubble, right? Sometimes at a final table, there may not actually be payout jumps for a little while, or the payout jumps are minimal. For example, if you get to a 10-handed final table, there may not be any payout jumps between 10th and 9th. If that's the case, there's actually no bubble right now, right? Next, you want to ask, what are the chip stack configurations at the table? What I mean by that is, say you're the big stack. You want to ask, are there short stacks, or is everybody else playing kind of deep stack too? Where are the other big stacks? For example, if you have, let's say 70 big blinds, and there's a player on your direct left with 65 big blinds, and everybody else has 12, well, the player on your direct left probably has the advantage over you because they're playing deep stacked in position against you. Alternatively, if you have 70 and there's a guy on your right with 65, and everybody else has 12, you're going to be in great shape, right? So that is very, very relevant. And there can be many, many chip stack configurations. And often your strategy is impacted the most when there are very, very tiny stacks at the table. So what I mean by that is, let's say you have even 30 big blinds and everybody else has 15, and then one player has 2 big blinds. In that scenario, you get to raise incredibly wide as the big stack because there's that 2 big blind stack sitting around that's sort of forcing everyone to hang out and wait to play a pot before that 2 big blind stack goes broke, right? So you want to make sure that you are actively paying attention to what is going on at the table and that you are focusing on that. So yeah, make sure you are paying attention to that. So let's discuss a few basic stack configurations and how you should adjust as the big stack. So let's say you're the big stack, then there are 3 short stacks to your left, let's say 15 big blind stacks, and then 2 medium stacks to their left. So you have 2 medium stacks on your right, a bunch of medium stacks on your left. So in that scenario, you should actually probably not be all that loose or aggressive. Because in that scenario, you have the short stacks on your left. If you raise, they can just jam on you. And if there is no very short stack at the table, they are somewhat incentivized to play pots with you, right? Notice, however, that if there was even one 5 big blind stack at the table, now all of a sudden you should start being much more loose. So the main overriding factor when you are the big stack, two of them, mainly who's on your left. Are these players equally big stacked as you, right? But then also, is there a very, very short stack that's going to force the other players to play very, very tightly? So big stack, short stack, short stack, short stack, medium stack, that's a scenario where you can't really do too much. Also, you may say, should we be 3-betting if the medium stacks raise a lot? Well, it depends on if they are playing loose or not. This is a scenario where if the medium stack raises, let's say 30 big blinds or something like that, and you're on their left, and there are a bunch of shallow stacks, that's a scenario where you can conceivably 3-bet very wide if you know your opponents will fold to a 3-bet. Some players will, some people won't. Some people in that scenario, when they're medium stack and they are raising into the big stack. So if they're raising into the big stack, it implies they probably have something pretty good. Because why would they want to risk their solid medium stack position, right? So in that situation, you would essentially want to not 3-bet them if they are tight. Now, if they're loose and they don't care that you are the big stack, in that scenario, you want to start 3-betting them a ton, maybe even all in, depending on their stack sizes. A common scenario is medium stack with like 20 big blind raises, and let's say they raise the hijack seat, you're in the cutoff with Jack 8 suited or something like that. Not a particularly great hand, but an acceptable hand. In that scenario, you can just rip it all in for the full 30, 20, 25 big blinds, and that's going to work out very, very well because they're going to fold a ton. So look for spots like that. What about instead, it's big stack, medium stack, short, short, short. In that scenario, with the medium stacks on your left and the short stacks on your right, if the short stack players fold before the action gets to you, you can now raise a ton because the medium stacks, again, should be disincentivized from playing against you. Something a lot of people mess up, though, is that they'll raise into medium stacks, and then the medium stacks will jam all in. In that scenario, the medium stack should have very, very strong hands, right? So if the medium stack should have very, very strong hands, in that scenario, you do not want to pay them off. A lot of people who get a big stack think it's their job to try to bust everyone. But that's not true at all. If anything, you actually don't want people to bust. You want everyone to slowly blind down to the point that you are the only big stack. And if you are the only big stack and everybody else is small or medium, now you can continue running people over. But if you start busting people, well, or risking doubling them up, now sometimes they end up having a decent chip stack, right? I see a lot of you are typing stuff. Let's see. You're leading with 70 big blinds in the money. Suddenly the blinds increase. And you're playing a turbo tournament. Well, realize sometimes you're playing a turbo tournament. I mean, that happens, right? If you're playing a turbo structured event, that's okay. And realize that if the blinds go up, everybody gets decreased. So it's not like all of a sudden you're getting sliced a ton, where you're losing a ton of your stack. It's more like you're losing 15, 20% of your stack whenever the blinds go up. And yeah, that happens. That's what poker tournaments are. Over 20K hands, you won 30 buy-ins, but you paid 20 buy-ins in rake. Yeah, make sure you get rake back. You all may not know this, but if you email support of most poker sites, at least the major ones, well, I say the major ones, I think most of them besides Party Poker and Poker Stars will give you rake back if you send them an email. So there you go. Tip of the day. I told my friends about that on one of the unlicensed, unregulated sites, and they all started getting rake back now. So that's good. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, says Kevin. I agree. If you're enjoying this, click like, click subscribe. You just finished the fundamentals. Excellent. I'm happy to hear it. Have I seen the movie Ultimate Beat? Yes. It's an old movie. That movie came out, probably 8 or 9 years ago. It was a good enlightening one. But yeah, Jim said, just finished mastering the fundamentals. Great. Check it out at pokercoaching.com/fundamentals. My guy, God's Big Toe, shipped the $15,000 guaranteed yesterday. Great. Michael Acevedo took 9th place in the big $600 tournament on ACR yesterday. First place was $130K. I think he probably got like $10K or something. Brutal. How much do you think Poker Tracker could improve your ROI if you currently have an ROI of 1%? Depends on how much you're using it and what you're doing with it. If you just like don't use it and don't use heads-up displays, then not a lot. But I personally love using heads-up displays because they give you lots and lots of good, clean information. Yesterday I took a, what did I take? I took a 9th place in a $150 tournament and like a 12th place in a 1,000-person $100 tournament. It was actually very unfortunate. It's the most frustrating thing that's happened to me in a long time. This is going to sound crazy. I was sitting here playing. It was like 2 a.m. I have this trackball mouse, okay? It has a little ball you move around. Like, you don't actually move it like this. You just use your thumb and you move it like this, okay? I was sitting up here at like 2 a.m. eating cheese, watching Michael Acevedo playing one table at a time. And I think it was $150 tournament, something like that. First place was like 30K or something. And we were down to like 12 people. And I'm sitting here eating. My mouse is sitting right here. I'm eating a piece of cheese. I'm going to go fold. Small blind shoves, like 15 big blinds, 18 big blinds, something like that. I'm going over to click the fold button. And as I'm doing this, somehow a piece of cheese falls into this ball. Let me actually show you this. You can pop this out, and there are these 3 little sensors in here. All right, you're not going to be able to see it. There are 3 little sensors. This pops out so you can clean it if it gets dirty or whatever. And I don't know what happened, but my mouse ended over the fold button. Over the call button instead of the fold button. So I ended up calling it like a 15 big blind shove with Queen 5 suited. I did not win. And that left me with like 6 big blinds. That was so annoying. I can't even conceive how that possibly happened in that exact spot. Anyway, I took like 12th place or something. So 2 almost good runs. Oh my God. Yeah, ACR is a quality program. They had a misdeal on an online poker site. ACR shill was trying to tell me how, this happens to all poker sites. I'm trying to think, have I ever been dealt a misdeal in an online poker site? Have I ever seen someone with no screen name win 2nd place in a tournament? No, I haven't. What kind of cheese? Cheddar cheese. The other crazy part is I bought cheddar cheese for the kids to like put on sandwiches, and instead of delivering me the cheese sliced up, they delivered me a whole pile of cheese, like a big block. So I had to cut it. That's the reason it was all like kind of crumbly, because I was sitting here cutting the cheese on a cheese board. Oh my God. Is grinding satellites a waste of time? Read Jonathan Little, or search Jonathan Little, why I suggest you don't play satellites, or something like that. How'd you make use of a few hours after work before bed? Go to pokercoaching.com and study a lot. How many tables am I willing to play at once with no heads-up display? Depends on the stakes. As your opponents play worse, you can get away with playing... Like, look, I don't think I'm the absolute best fundamentally sound player in the world, even though I do, try to teach all of you to do that to the best of my ability. But if you play good fundamentally sound poker, you should be fine playing a lot of tables with no heads-up displays. How do you develop patience and discipline for the long term? Realize that if you are not patient and are not disciplined, you will make mistakes, and making mistakes cost you money. You've misclicked plenty. Yeah, ideally, you don't want to misclick. Yeah, Murphy's Law, whatever could go wrong. That is very true. ACR makes it difficult to deposit money. So look, I would not deposit or cash out from any of these shady on American sites unless I'm using exactly cryptocurrency. That's by far the best way to do it at the moment. So far, they're doing that fine. It's not even clear if that is definitively against the law or not, that act. I mean, they're obviously breaking the law by taking U.S. deposits and whatnot, but I would say that it would be really, really not smart to try to deposit with like Visa or cash out with a bank account or something like that. Seeing you tell that story of the cheese, you can really see the trauma that it dealt me, LOL. I'm not sure if it actually dealt me trauma. It was more just like... I mean, you all can see how fast I can like move this mouse around, right? And this is just on this chat box. I mean, I can get all around. I have 2 computers here. I can get from one monitor to the other monitor, no problem. I have 2 monitors here, not 2 computers. But I can go very quickly. And so I was like, just like going over there, mousing over there to click fold, and next thing you know, click call. Even at Queen 5, why can't you have like Ace King or something? Give me a shot. Can you build a roll when just playing play money? No. Yeah, cut the cheese, that's for sure. Why players don't overbet the flop too often, but on the turn in the river? Typically, you want to be overbetting when you're like incredibly polarized, I think, and also when your range, when the board should connect okay with your opponent's range, they should have a lot of very clear marginal hands. And there really aren't that many scenarios where you have a very, very giant range advantage, and the flop should connect well with the opponent to some extent pre-flop. I'm sorry, on the flop. So that's basically why. You can build your roll with play money. Well, I mean, like, look, there are ways on some sites where you can play free rolls and stuff like that. And, but I would suggest you just not do that. I would tell you to get a job making $5 an hour and work for 10 hours and deposit $50 online and play tiny stakes games. That's what I did. And I would tell you should not, like, essentially waste your time playing for literally no money because, like, what's the purpose? How many binds do you suggest for heads up sit and goes? Depends on your edge. Your win rate's very important. So you're saying to be more patient when someone calls your shove a queen 5 suited and wins. Yeah, so could have won. I even flopped, I think, backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight draw. Like, give me. Could you imagine that you just give it to me one time? To be fair, I have not fared too well deep in these tournaments on those sites for some reason. Such is life, I suppose. That's not true. I took second place 2 weeks ago. What am I complaining about? Okay, so whenever you're the big stack, you generally want to be targeting the medium stacks and the short stacks that are also going to be tight when you're the big stack at a final table. And the reason I say the short stacks are going to be tight because some short stacks are not actually going to be tight. Some short stacks are going to think that their job at this scenario is to essentially get a lot of chips or go broke, which, is fine as long as you recognize that, right? Usually you will have some idea of who these players are because they'll have loose stats. They'll be playing lots of hands, right? And if they are playing lots of hands, usually in an aggressive manner, that's a clear sign that you don't really want to be raising into their blinds all that often because they're going to be ripping it in on you, right? Also, you want to ask, perhaps if you're not even the biggest stack, are there other big stacks I can realistically push around? Because really, the best person to push around is the player who really doesn't want to get involved with you, whoever that is. And you're going to find that the medium stacks are always heavily incentivized to not get involved with you. And the big stacks may also be incentivized to not get involved with you. What side are we talking about? This was on America's Card Room. I do not vouch for them. I do not suggest you play there. I do not think it is a good program at all. Yesterday, they had a misdeal and made everyone sit around for 20 minutes while they figured out what was happening. It was actually funny. It's well known that ACR goes down very, very frequently, just because it's a real quality program there. And normally they close all the tournaments. So I was tilted because I had just bubbled a $600 tournament, like a second before the thing happened, and I probably had like $4,000 in equity in the $600 tournament. And I was thinking, oh my God, because if they close it, I think they'll probably like prorate you money back or something. I don't know what they do. They try to figure out a way to give you money back. And so anyway, I was thinking, oh my goodness, did I really just get owned out of $4,000 here? But the game started back anyway. Have I ever heard of Red Chip Poker? Red Chip Poker is sort of like a training site to some extent. I suggest you sign up for pokercoaching.com. If you've not tried pokercoaching.com, go sign up. You can get a completely free trial. Even if you sign up for any membership, if you don't like it within 30 days, ask for a refund. If I do not help you get better at poker, I do not deserve your money. There are lots and lots of training programs out there that want to charge you loads of money up front, will not give you refunds, will not give you support, will sell you something that was made 5 years ago, and that's what they try to do. And that's not what we're trying to do. We're here actively working to help you get better at poker. Again, I don't know what Red Chip's doing, but I do know there are a lot of other courses, sites, etc. out there that are, I think probably predatory is the right word. Can you give some advice on how you can use your business to sponsor your poker tournament buy-ins? I don't know anything about this. You should definitely talk to a lawyer about something like this, or accountant or something like that. My business certainly does not. I mean, so look, you have to ask. Look, it sounds like what you're trying to do is you're trying to say that my business is going to buy me into the tournament in exchange for putting a patch on me. That thought process never even occurred to me to possibly do that. That sounds very, very shady. That said, hey, maybe it's allowed. If you can use your profit each year to buy yourself into tournaments and maybe win or maybe not. I'm not sure. That sounds like a good question for a poker accountant. My accountant's Teresa Fox. You could ask her. Maybe she knows the answer. How many buy-ins should you have for 4-ring cash games? Check out JonathanLittlePoker.com/bankroll. There we have the Bankroll Bible. On PokerStars, when it crashes, they give you what your stack is worth. Yeah, that's usually what most sites do. All right. So let's see. What else do we want to talk about pertaining to playing the big stack on the bubble? Really, Louis Philippe asked this question. Louis Philippe, what questions do you have? Do you want to give me some situations, or do you want to ask specific questions pertaining to this? Because really what it amounts to is find the people who are going to play tight and apply little bits of aggression to them, and then you want to not be in the pot whenever it's clear that they're not going to apply aggression to you, like they're going to be nitty. If they're going to be nitty and then they play back at you, then you should get out of the way, right? I think a lot of big stacks think, I need to try to bust these people. Or they think, I'm playing a lot of hands, therefore these people are going to try to get out of line against me. And usually, the tight people really just aren't doing that. Do you think poker stress leads to a receding hairline? I do not know the effects of stress on the body necessarily. I don't know how that affects hairline. You don't like the sound of clanging chips. Wear earplugs. Lots of people wear earplugs when they play poker because they don't want the sound. How did I do in these tournaments? Like I said, I took 12th place in some 1,000-person tournament, and I took 9th place in a 300-person tournament. But close, but no big wins. Michael Acevedo, our coach last night, took 9th place in the big $600 tournament with $130K for first. I think he only got about 10K though, so close run. Every week he makes a close run. He's been streaming. If you speak Spanish and you want to watch him stream, search twitch.tv/GTO_poker. Speaking of which, I need to write a note. Oh, let's see. Do you think how will live poker be when everything opens up? I don't know when everything's going to open up, and I imagine it will probably slowly get integrated. Does meditation help getting in that space, in that patience and discipline space? I mean, look, Ibrahim, it sounds like you are having, I don't even know what issue you're referring to, because when you say patience is a word people use very, very differently. Some people think folding good hands is patience. That's not patience, that's just bad poker, right? Being a nit is just bad poker. Other people think patience is, discipline. Discipline and patience are very, very different things. So I'm not even really sure what you're asking. You've gone broke 5 times this year. You try to study and follow bankroll managers, but you don't. Well, that sounds like you have a big problem with discipline. How about calling with a high pair when the other big stack shoves? So, Jeff, in that scenario, it depends on how loose and aggressive the other big stack is. There are certainly spots where you're just going to run into it. I had a big spot the other day in a progressive knockout tournament where I played a pot worth like $50,000 and I lost it. Where I was second biggest stack, other biggest stack in a bounty tournament. We both had giant bounties. So he should be really incentivized to play pots with me. We end up getting it all in with the flip for loads of chips, and I lost, right? And so I don't know how that guy did in the tournament, but I would have been the chip leader by a mile if I won. He would have been the chip leader by a mile if he won. And I didn't win. And that was a spot where I thought he could easily be jamming, suited aces and all sorts of stuff. So anyway, does meditation help with patience and discipline? I mean, I don't know. You need to experiment, right? It seems like whenever you're asking questions like this, it sounds like you haven't really looked into answers to your problem all that much, right? If you think that maybe you should try meditating, meditate and do it for a month, right? If you think you should study poker more and just get better at poker, do that for a long time and see what happens, right? There is no magic bullet that's all of a sudden going to help you start crushing poker. It doesn't work like that. Yeah, Jeff said that's how you busted on the bubble yesterday. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was saying. I bubbled this $600 tournament yesterday. Same thing, you know. I was a medium stack against another medium stack. We should both be kind of tight, but I had queens and he had ace king and I lost. You know, it's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? How do you push yourself up when you're on a downswing? I never really went on a downswing in the early days because I always kept a big bankroll and I played games with very low variance. If you play games with very low variance, you won't really have all that bad of downswings. And also, you recognize what is likely to occur. I always recognize what was likely to occur. Even back in the day, I realized there's a lot of swings in poker, so you better keep a big bankroll and you better make sure you're playing in games where you have a big edge. And if you're not doing that, well, you should expect giant bankrolls. Have I tried binaural beats? Yes, I prefer silence. Music is fine too, but I definitely don't like kids making tons of noise. How about that? What if the other stack, big stack plays back at you? Where does a hand like top pair stand? Two pairs, etc. Depends on the spot, right? So there are many scenarios when you're playing both pretty deep stack. Like say you both have 50 big blinds and everybody else has 15. If you raise pre-flop, big stack calls, flop comes giving you top pair. That's a spot where maybe you should just check it back on the flop because you really don't want to get all in, right? You have the best hand almost always, but if all the money goes in, you have to be a little bit cautious, and you really don't want to be cautious with something like top pair, especially if your opponent may be trying to blast you. So again, it depends in that scenario. You need to ask yourself what's likely to occur, and then you want to ask, is that really bad? And if you do have a medium stack, or if you have like a stack that could be all in and doesn't really want to get all in, then checking it and then just calling a tournament and calling river bet's pretty nice. Did you play a main event on ACR? I don't know what the main event is. I think there was some $400 tournament. I took, I don't know, cash for like $1,500 or something. I will say ACR does have very slow structured tournaments, perhaps too slow structured tournaments. Some of them are slow structured. All right, under the gun goes 600. Middle position lag makes it 1,500. Here on the button, 17,500 with ace king. I would just go ahead and re-raise to about 4,000. I think that 4,000 is fine. Jamming's fine too. In your games, people float raises with their whole range in all positions. How do you adjust? Value bet more. Also, figure out how what was the question? I already forgot the question. Goodness gracious. So people float a lot. You want to ask how are they going to proceed whenever you check the turn and when you bet the turn, right? If they're just going to float the flop every time and fold every turn, but when they don't have anything, just keep barreling, right? If they're going to raise you every time you bet the turn, then just value bet. If they're going to, you need to figure out what they're going to do incorrectly and then adjust. What's my routine before a session? I sit in my chair and start playing. Believe it or not, I don't really have horrible mindset issues. I have issues where cheese falls in my mouth and makes me misclick. But I don't really have mindset issues like it seems like you're having. I am generally thinking clearly. I've been doing this for how many years? 17 years? After 17 years of this, you realize my job is to sit and play well. What's my screen name on that bad American site? Pokercoaching.com. Couldn't make it easier for you. Can you discuss what can be done to get over the hump to make more final tables? I mean, Tony, you just have to make sure you're making deep runs on a regular basis, right? Like, for example, whenever I load up a session on a Sunday, I may play, 25 tournaments. In those 25 tournaments, we're going to have 1 or 2 deep runs. And usually in those 1 or 2 deep runs, we have a pretty big stack. You want to watch someone else doing the same thing? Watch Michael Acevedo, right? He may not play quite as many tournaments as I do, but every weekend seems like he's making a deep run, and sometimes he wins, sometimes he doesn't. But I mean, the question is like, what are you doing wrong? I don't know what you're doing wrong. You have to provide hand histories, and you can do that on pokercoaching.com in the forums and in the Discord. Discuss that with other people, and if you're not making deep runs ever, it probably means you're either playing way too loose, way too splashy, you're making mistakes on a regular basis, or perhaps you're playing way too tight. Let's see. What is a good blind structure online time-wise? I don't know. Depends on, what does good and bad mean, right? It's all relative. Brian, pokercoaching.com is my name there. What if they jam on your opens and don't play back at each other? So you mean if there are other big stacks, say there are 2 other big stacks, so they're raising, and then whenever you raise, they just rip it in on you? Just raise tighter, right? In that scenario, they're risking too much to win too little. How do you play when people limp a lot? Depends on what the limper strategy is, right? If they're limping with strong ranges, just raise kind of tight. Call with hands that flop well. If you are going to raise with bluffs, raise with stuff like ace 10 offsuit type hands, king jack offsuit type hands. If they're going to be weak, depends on if they're going to fold or call your raises very frequently. If they're going to fold your raises, just raise a ton, right? If they're going to call them a ton, just raise with probably a generally normal raising range from all positions. Perhaps limping a little bit more often with suited connectors, suited aces, etc. How many rebuys are too many? You have to realize each rebuy, so I'm going to assume you're talking about re-entry. Each re-entry is its own individual tournament. So there is not too many because each entry is its own individual tournament. So you can't think, oh, I'm in this tournament 10 times. I have to get X plays to break even. It doesn't work like that. It's more of I'm in this tournament one time and I was in the previous tournament one time and I was in the previous tournament one time. And you just have to make sure you're properly bankrolled. What happens to a lot of people, though, is they'll go and they'll play, let's say they normally play $500 buy-in tournaments, but then there's some big marquee event at their casino, and like let's say it's $3,500 tournament. They play the $3,500 tournament, then they decide, all right, I'm gonna if I lose, I'm done. But then they bust quick and like, oh, I need to play again. So then they play again, and now they bust later and like, oh man, I'm in it twice. I might as well fire one more. Next thing you know, they're in for $10,000 out of their $25,000 bankroll in a tournament they probably shouldn't have played in to begin with. So essentially, I would tell you, you need to assume each entry is its individual tournament. Do we think we'll be at a table full of masked people? Ooh, I don't know. Possibly. What percentage of the tournaments does the average person cash? Well, 15% of the field cashes. So in theory, 15%, right? Maybe a little bit less. You won 23 bucks playing 5 cent, 10 cent. Great. Congrats. Your opponent tends to flat your preflop raises with their whole range. What's a good adjustment? Well, you can raise way wider. If people don't 3-bet you ever, you get to raise significantly wider. I have a chapter in excelling at No Limit Hold'em, or excelling at tough No Limit Hold'em games coming out, and it discusses how you can basically just raise wider if people don't 3-bet you nearly as often. So you can raise wider, usually with just stronger, it's like straight up linear range. And you can get away with value betting and bluffing more after the flop because they're just going to have a range full of garbage. Well, it depends on what their whole range is, right? Is their whole range tight or is their whole range loose? Do I read or ignore chats online while I'm playing? I'm playing too many tables for that. What do you mean by games with low variance? Back in the day, I played cash games, which have relatively low variance. Back then, we played Limit Hold'em, which has relatively low variance. And also, I played Sit and Goes, which are 9-handed tournaments. And 9-handed tournaments have way less variance than 1,000-player tournaments. Mr. Pink said, just signed up for pokercoaching.com. Great, hope you enjoy it. You're looking forward to Alex Fitzgerald's content. Great. Should you play a $10 satellite or a $10 buy-in tournament? Well, it depends on if you want infinite variance. When you play a satellite, you're 1-8 to cash the satellite, roughly, if you're good. And then you're 1-8 to cash the next tournament, if you're average, which you probably are in those scenarios. So that means you're 1-64 to get any money back. And even then, you're only going to get $20 back. So you want to be 1-64 to get $20 back most of the time? Ever play on World Series? I'm not in Vegas, so no. Bovada or ACR, which one is better? They're different. ACR and Bovada are very different sites. I think in terms of less likely to go down and steal your money, I think Bovada is probably less likely to. That said, they're always live, right? They've just done the best job of skirting the law for the longest period of time. David says, you won a ticket to the Unibet 1100. Congrats. Should you play differently, assuming lots of satellite players will be there? Just realize people are going to be playing poorly across the board, and that's okay. It's hard to give you any default advice because you don't know who's going to be at your table, but I would generally say just show up, play good, fundamentally sound poker, and adjust to whatever they're doing wrong. They're probably going to be either way too loose and splashy, or they're going to be like way too tight and nitty. You think online poker is dead? No, I do not think online poker is dead. Hardly anyone's crushing nowadays. I have plenty of examples of people who are crushing, who I have taught to crush. I have plenty of examples of people who I know who just started playing online again because they think it's kind of booming right now due to everybody being locked down, and turns out they're crushing. All the big Twitch names are breaking even or losing. Well, it's important to realize I'm not going to say this this applies to everyone who streams, but a lot of people who are streaming are not the absolute biggest winners in the game for various reasons. That said, I mean, some good people stream. Like Michael Acevedo streams. He's crushing it. And he's been doing well, right? I think, to be fair, he's not like a big name, right? The thing is, the people who spend all their time playing 4 tables and talking to the chat all day probably aren't going to be all that good at poker after years of that, right? And you become a big name on Twitch by streaming all day playing 4 tables at a time. And that's just not, it's not good for getting good at poker. What's good at getting good at poker is studying a ton and playing more tables. Satellites rule. Satellites are great if you want to try to parlay your money, if you want to try to win a trip, something like that. But I would generally say that they are horrible if you want to actually make money. Mike says streamers get money from streaming. You know, really, you don't make a whole lot of money from streaming unless you have a very, very big following. I think a lot of people probably think that people make way more money from streaming than they do, or from YouTube than they do. Like, I make $0 from YouTube. I have no ads. I realize a lot of people want to subject their followers to ads to try to make half a penny from each of you. I'm not trying to make half a penny from each of you. Because I know that if I help you all some, you're going to eventually reward me by buying a book or signing up to pokercoaching.com or something like that. And I'd rather do that than subject you to ads. Anyway, like, you just don't make a whole lot of money from doing these things. Have I heard of Color Up Poker? No. Grips is good and he streams. Brian, I think Grips would admit he is not one of the top 20 poker players in the world, right? I'm not one of the top 20 poker players in the world. I don't know very many people who are in the top 20 poker players in the world. Turns out very few of the top 20 poker players in the world are streaming. Because they're busy studying all day and playing lots of tables. What's something I wish I knew in the beginning? What ranges were and how they interact with each other. If you want to get good at poker, sign up for pokercoaching.com and get this book, Mastering Small Stakes No Limit Hold'em. That is really all you need to get started. Oh, hi. What are you doing?
I want to come say hi.
You want to come say hi? Did you just get done with school?
No, I just want my grandpa.
Oh, is your grandpa here? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so nice. I'm so glad your grandpa's here.
It was in there.
Yeah, that. No, don't touch that. Don't touch that. That makes it to where the S sounds don't sound bad when you say an S sound. Can you say Sam? Can you say Sam?
No, I don't know what Sam is.
You don't know who Sam is?
Yeah, but you can say...
Can you tell everyone goodbye and I hope you have a good day?
Have a good day and bye-bye.
Can you say good luck in your games?
Good luck in your games.
You want to blow him a kiss? Bye. Bye-bye. Am I the best top 50 players in the world? Probably not. Because I am out of practice in theory, right? Look, I don't have any sort of ego when it comes to, are you the literal best player in the world? The answer is obviously not, right? I'm sitting at home taking care of a family, and I'm spending a lot of my time teaching all of you, right? The literal best players in the world are studying all day and playing all day. That's basically what all of the absolute best players in the world are doing. And at this point in life, I do not have time to devote that much of my time to doing that. So I'm not ever going to be the best poker player in the world, and that's okay. My son seems great. My son is great. That's Mr. James. Thomas is sleeping. Someone asked why we don't have Thomas on the stream, because Thomas naps from 9 till 10:30. The best teacher. I could actually be the best teacher. Definitely in the top 20 of that. Did you lose money because of the Ultimate Bet thing? No, I was very lucky that... Funny enough, I never even played on Ultimate Bet. Someone set up a rakeback account for me where they were going to deposit my party poker rakeback into Ultimate Bet, okay? Fine. I was playing, they deposited me like $10,000. Then when I tried to play some and then cash it out, they wouldn't cash it out because the person who made my account on Ultimate Bet spelled my name slightly wrong. They spelled it Johnathan instead of Jonathan, and they wouldn't let me cash it out. So now I have $10,000 on there, and I gave it back to my friend, and then I never played there again. So no, I did not get owned by Ultimate Bet. I was also very fortunate with Full Tilt. I won a tournament. I took second place in a tournament for like $320,000 right before Black Friday. And I did not want it on there. So I cashed it out. It hit my bank account like 2 days before Black Friday, and then Black Friday happened. So I was very, very lucky. All my money that I had locked up was on PokerStars, and that was fine. How can you figure out the abbreviations they use in the lobby of the sites? Sit there, look at it, figure it out yourself. Ace 10 offsuit in the big blind, small blind jams 10 big blinds. Easy fold wins. Oh, small stack jams 10 big blinds. Usually an easy fold unless the small stack is very tight. Is there any validity to keeping in so that there'll be a payout jump? I don't know. It depends on the scenario. Also depends on your stack. If you're a medium stack, you really want that player out, right? But if you're a big stack by a lot, maybe there's a chance you want to keep that in. What is Linus Love, one of the best players in the world, doing that got him to be the best player? He probably studies all day and he works hard, right? That's really it. You have to realize that the best players in the world are studying all day and they are working very, very hard at the game. Do I think the random poker apps are rigged? Probably not, but maybe. Also, I would tell you to not play on any of the poker apps. Do not play on Poker Bros, PPP, etc. If you're doing that, you are inviting all of the troubles in the poker world into your house, and you probably do not want that for various reasons. So don't play on sites that are very, very live to screw you in various ways. It's already enough trouble with things like ACR, where you have to deal with getting money in and out of there and the site crashing. With the apps, they're not vetted at all by anyone. And also, you don't know what's going on the back end. Like there have been the Chinese poker apps that, in the past have, the ones that we play Chinese poker, not the ones that are run by China. But there have been like Chinese poker apps in the past that people would like see the cards. It's just like, why would you ever possibly want to play on a site like that? What do I think of the Juicy Stakes poker site? I don't think they cash you out, right? Do you think poker will be legalized over the next years? Probably not. If you have an online home game using the Star software for real money, is that legal as long as you don't take a rake? I don't know. Why do all of you always want to talk about the shady poker sites? I really do not understand. It seems like literally every single day. Like, why does this all require so much of everyone's mind space here? I mean, I would ask all of you that. Like, why do you care so much? If you're going to play on a bad site, realize, I'm playing on a bad site, and maybe they're going to steal my money one day. Actually, they will steal your money one day. The question is when. So just realize, like, that's cool if that's what you're okay with, right? I mean, I have some money on ACR, and I realize they're going to keep my last cash out. I know that already. So they're basically going to keep whatever you keep in there. So keep the minimum, keep like 1 day's worth of play. So I have like $5,000 in there. And if they take it, it sucks. It's not the end of my world, but it's unfortunate. And I know that's going to happen. So the question is, will I make more than that between now and when the site closes? And I think the answer is probably yes. Anyway. Yeah. Dan Druff does a whole lot of very conspiracy theory type stuff. That said, he does point out a lot of problems. And hey, I mean, if he says he has someone who can backdoor like Ultimate Bet, I would not doubt it. I have heard things as well, but I have not seen anything with my own eyes. If I've not seen anything with my own eyes, I'm not going to be saying that things are definitively true. But I hear they can do all sorts of stuff on the apps. And why not, right? Apart from yourself, who would recommend as being the best teachers? I like Michael Acevedo. I've learned a lot from him. Apart from my books, which one would I recommend? Michael Acevedo's book, Modern Poker Theory. All right. Let's see. You tried exploitative plays and they all went wrong. Well, I would tell you were probably not implementing them properly, or maybe it's just variance. You came to the final table with 5x stack versus second place. You did some really stupid plays and ended in second place. Yeah, well, you had 5 times second place whenever you got to the final table. Look, you're not always going to win. Something that I should also say when we're discussing how to play with the chip lead is that sometimes it's not going to go right. One time in a World Poker Tour tournament in Biloxi, I had half the chips 7-handed, and I took 7th. I doubled up literally everyone at the table. I got it all in with queens against queen 8 suited to bust. That was a fun one. He flopped a straight flush. I got it all in. Like, I raised, he jammed Queen 8 suited for like 20 big blinds I called. It comes, it was just like Jack 10 9 of clubs. I was like, are you kidding me? Literal Jack 10 9 of clubs. Yeah, Queen 8 of clubs. Fun game, huh? I mean, you all think the online sites are rigged. I mean, this kind of thing happens in live poker too. And it just happens. And you're going to have equally good runs too. The guy who won that tournament had one anti-chip with 18 people left in the tournament. He won the tournament. So, I mean, stuff happens. So, like, realize, even if you do have a lot of chips, you're not going to just crush it every time, right? Sometimes you lose. Yesterday, Michael Acevedo had the chip lead with 18 people left in the big $600 tournament, and he took ninth, right? And I was sitting there watching the whole time. He played great. Just wasn't his day. When an aggressive player overshoves preflop, do you usually put them on ace-king? No, I put them on a range. If anything, I would say they have more, like, marginal ace-x stuff. Obviously, ace-king's in their range, too. All right, what books did I read that made me good at poker? I would actually not recommend reading the books that I read back in the day because a lot of them are not very good. I mean, I read a few old books that teach you to play very tight, very passive, and those actually, they didn't teach me how to play. They taught me how to beat the general player pool who read that book. And, I mean, that's what my whole first book was, like the premise of it essentially was how to beat weak, tight poker players. And because that's what all the books taught back in the day. So I would definitely suggest not reading the stuff that I read when I first started 15 years ago. I already told you all, though, if you want to get good at poker, Mastering Small Stakes No Limit Hold'em, this is the book for you. You can get it at jonathanlowepoker.com/mastering. What about Super System? Super System is great if you want to learn to play Limit Hold'em with one blind. If you want to play 7-card stud, not high-low, or 7-card stud high-low, but not 7-card stud, high-low 8 or better. You know, if you want to learn how to play a bunch of antiquated games, Super System is for you. That said, you know, No Limit Hold'em section taught you to play loose, aggressive, kind of maniacal. Maybe that's good, maybe not. If anything, I would tell you to look at more like Super System 2 as opposed to Super System 1, because Super System 1 has like stuff on games that you don't even play, right? Like half the games don't even exist anymore. That's the interesting thing, though. Like, I mean, imagine there is one good section in the book. Is it worth it to buy the 500-page book for one good section? I think the answer is yes, but a lot of people don't. You know, funny enough, when I made Excelling at No Limit Hold'em, let me show you. This book. I had people on Amazon give this book a bad review. You want to tell you why? They read the book. They said they liked it, but they didn't like, let's say, one chapter out of the 18 chapters by all of these poker players. I didn't like one chapter, so I'm going to give this a bad review. But whereas in reality, I look at this type of thing more of, if you like one chapter out of the 18, it's a heck of a value. And, you know, I guess it's just on how you view things. Look at this. You see this? Nice signed copy by many of the authors. How fun is that? Maybe I'll give this away one day. We'll see. So yeah, anyway, that's that. Then I watched the high stakes WPT cash game. I watched some of it. I don't really watch a whole lot of poker on TV, but I watched a little bit of it. You never read or watched any of my content. Well, I would suggest you do that. You can do it for free at pokercoaching.com. What's a good hourly rate at 5 no limit? I don't know, probably 5, 6 big blinds per 100, something like that. All right, I have to go now. Hope you all have a great day. Hope you enjoy yourselves. Hope you make the most of the day. Today's Monday, so it's time to get up, get to work, and make things happen. You ran deep last night. 2 guys shoved. You had aces. Yeah, don't fold aces. Why didn't I answer any of your questions? Guess I didn't see them. Sorry. Ask them again on Wednesday. I'll see you all bright and early Wednesday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time right here. And check out pokercoaching.com/fundamentals. Bye-bye. Have a good day.